Hello and welcome back to Academic Technology at Pillar College. This section of our Moodle tutorial will talk about adding a link to an external website. We encourage you to post links to Grammarly in your courses. Grammarly is a tool that we'll be requiring starting the spring semester of 2015. Grammarly will help students to be able to proofread their documents and check for plagiarism before turning in any documents. So let's assume that we have an assignment where we want students to turn in a paper, and so we'll cover both in this tutorial. How do you create that assignment, and how do you actually create a link to Grammarly to encourage students to use that tool? So we'll assume here that this paper will be due on January 26th, and so we'll come down to the January 26th part of our website to add the assignment. And of course, first we need to turn editing on. We'll scroll down to January 26 and say add an activity or a resource. And we want an assignment. So we'll click on assignment, and as always there's some information here about it and a link to some help files about how to use this. But we'll say add. Now there are lots of different options for assignments, different types of assignments, but for now I'll show you one way to have students turn in a paper. So the assignment name would be, say, paper on the history of photography. And the description you can copy and paste from your syllabus or your assignment sheet or whatever you have. And I'll just put assignment information. We'll pretend I typed the whole thing in. Now, availability. Do you want to set dates where students are able to submit this from one date to the next? Do you want to have a cutoff date where you won't accept any more papers? If so, you can turn these dates on by checking the checkbox here, and then you can set the appropriate dates by just clicking on that calendar icon, and you can do it that way, or you can leave this on throughout the semester. It's completely up to you as an instructor which way you want to handle this. What type of submission do you want? Is this online text where people actually type something up online right into the website and submit it? Or do they submit a file? I strongly recommend having your students submit a file, because that helps us to make sure that they're using Grammarly for this. And if they take a very long time to type up their text, they might actually get automatically logged out of Moodle, and if they haven't copied that text or saved it somewhere, then they could lose it. So I do recommend these file submissions instead of online text. Is there a word limit? You can enable that. The maximum number of uploaded files, usually there will just be one file, and it will be their paper, and that's it. Sometimes when I give an exam, it'll be a 3-question essay, and some of the students choose to answer each essay question in a different file. And if they do that, then I only actually receive one of the files. So how many files can they upload? You can choose anywhere from 1 to 20, and I'll set it just very high just in case students decide to upload this in 4 or 5 documents. It doesn't usually happen that much, but it can, so I can do that. But for most essays, if it's one topic, you can just choose one. Maximum number of uploaded files is 1. The maximum submission size, set that as high as the settings will allow. Most of these options are either you can set the defaults, or they're things like outcomes and grades that we'll cover in a separate tutorial. Alright, so this is the gist of how you set this up. So we've given the assignment a name, we've typed in or copied and pasted a description, we choose whether or not to set the dates to restrict submissions for this file, and we choose the type, which is file submissions. And we'll come back down here and we can say save and display. When a student clicks on this link, then what you will see as a professor, as an instructor, would be the number of participants in the course, the number of files submitted, the number that need grading. You can grade and view all submissions so far. The status will change as students submit work. So this might be set to draft, or it might be set to submitted. once the students click on the link to actually submit the file to you, then it's done. They can't make any more changes, and you know that they're done and can start grading. You can also set this to prevent changes, so the students can no longer upload any new files or revisions. And if you receive the file, you can click on the file to download it. You can grade it and then enter the grade into here, 95%, whatever it is. If you do this, make sure you click down here at the bottom on Save All Quick Grading Changes. Now, when you click that button, do you want students to automatically be notified? Yes or no? In many cases, the students will want to be notified right away, and you can click on yes. If you scroll down, the number of assignments per page is just what you view here. If you have 25 students in your class and you want to see all 25 listed at once on the same page, it'll just take a tiny bit longer for the page to load, but you can have up to 100 students listed on each page. And the other options are either pretty self-explanatory or you won't need to change them. So if you do make any changes here, just say Save All. All right, now we'll go back to the main course web page. We'll turn editing off. And let's actually view the page as a student by coming down to Administration and switch role to a student. And we see here a paper on the history of photography. When we come in here as a student, we'll see the title that we gave it. We'll see whatever description or instructions we gave. And my current submission status is I have not attempted anything and nothing has been graded. So I can add a submission. And as a student then, I'll see this box that should probably be becoming pretty familiar by now. And as a student, I can come and find my file. Now I don't have a finished file, so I'll just pretend that this is a finished paper. And I'll drag that into that area and say Save Changes. Now as a student, I've saved this, but it's only saved as a draft. So I can actually go and revise things. If I want to edit this submission, I can choose Edit. And whatever changes I make, I can delete this file by clicking Delete, and then upload a new file or whatever I need to do. And at the end, you will actually have the file that students choose to submit as the final document. Now I mentioned that students will be required to use Grammarly before turning in the file. So to add a link to Grammarly, we'll return to my normal role, turn editing back on because we want to have a link. And Grammarly, the website for Grammarly is just grammarly.com. And I can even open this in a new tab. All right, and I'll copy and paste this address. Once you're logged in, it will redirect automatically to a different page. All right, but let's create a link to this here. So we'll turn editing on because we want to add a link. And in this case, we'll add a resource. A link is not an activity for student, but it is a resource. So we'll click on this Add Activities and Resources link for the same week as our paper is due. And we'll choose Add a URL, which is a fancy word for a web address. We'll click on Add. Now the name, we can call it anything we want. And I'll just say, please submit or check your work on Grammarly before submitting your final draft. That's a pretty long name, but it'll get the point across. The description is optional. And here's the URL. And so we can just copy and paste or type in the URL that we want. We have some other options here. Appearance, automatic is the browser decides for you how it will look. In cases like this, though, I actually recommend choosing New Window. The reason I would recommend new window is that this page actually stays open. Otherwise, when students click on the link, this page disappears and they go only to Grammarly. Then they actually have to come back to the main home page and find the course and find this assignment. So it's much easier for students to just leave this page open. So I would choose new window for display. Everything else you can look through, but it can pretty much stay the same. And we'll say save and display. And here we have our link. So we'll go back to the main course website, turn editing off, and this will be very close to what students will see. We'll scroll down, and here's the assignment that we gave, and here's the link. Please check your work on Grammarly. When we click on the link, you'll see this new tab opened up, and it opens up right to Grammarly.com. And if the student is logged in already, because you can remain logged in, then they'll be all set up to just submit their work very quickly and have it checked. All right, so I'll close these tabs down. Now, the order here, if the students see this in the current order, they'll probably work on their paper. They'll click on the link, see the instructions, work on their paper, and then submit their paper before they actually see the link to the other one. So we might want to change the order of that. To do this, we'll turn editing on. We'll scroll down to this week, and we have this little move icon. When we hover the mouse over the move icon, you can see that the cursor changes to match that icon. When the cursor changes, we can just click and drag and move this around. So reordering your site is just that easy. And suppose something happens and you change the date for this assignment from January 26th to the following week, February 2nd. We can just move the assignment right down to February 2nd. Move this link right above it, and we're done. So moving your information around is quite simple. We'll turn editing off, and now that same information appears in the correct order in the correct date. All right, so I hope this has been helpful, and we'll continue this tutorial in the next session.